What's up? This is your girl Carla, and I am jumping on here to tell you about a story of mine that's a true story. Well, back in 2013, I was divorced and I wanted a new life, so I ended up moving to Palmdale, California. And it was hard to find a property. The realtor finally found something. She called me, and I looked at it on the internet, and I thought it was really beautiful, and I decided to give it a try. So what she did was met me at the house when I got everything packed up, moved down there, and once I got to the door, I was able to use that key to get in one time. But I kid you not, that was the only time that I was ever able to use that key to get in that property. I'm trying to adjust my phone a little better than this, sorry. And then after that, I start, it was just me, my kids, and my cousin Joe at the time. And then strange events started happening in the house, like the radio turned on by itself. And I don't want to scare my cousin, but he was like, "Who turned that on? Did you do it?" And I said, "Yes," but I blinked my eye because I didn't do it. And at this time, I was from Arizona, so I had no other family members to run to there. So I just kind of, took it like a woman and kind of dealt with it. It was scary. From the shelves opening up to, it was really hot in the house. I would turn the showers on, and every time I would turn the showers on, it was like you just moved into a house from like old rust, but mine looked like old blood coming out. I would have to let it run for a little bit until it got clear. I kid you not. And I was tripping out because I never experienced nothing like this ever in my life or my kids. So my son was in the backyard playing one day by himself, and I was looking out the window washing the dishes, and oh, Shiloh's playing by himself. And come to find out, he told me he wasn't playing by himself. He said he was playing with a little girl. Her name was Saya. He said, "Mom, she's 6 years old. Her name is Saya, and she's waiting for her family to get here." Man, at that time, I was like, "Oh, Lord, something is up with this house now." And plus, it was really hot, and I had just called the AC repairman to come fix the AC. He fixed it, left. An hour later, came back. The AC was broken again. So, he's scheduled to come back that following day to fix it again. But I wanted to go to the neighbor's house to see who lived there before us. And I went to the neighbors, and I just introduced myself and told her where I lived. And she says, well, it was a family that lived there, a Hispanic family. They had 5 girls, and they, for some reason, lost the house. But the mother was weird. She would come back. If there was a for sale or for rent sign, she'd pull it up crying and go on hysterical and stuff. And nobody could ever figure it out. They just said she was really weird. Okay, so I'm telling her something's not right about the house. So, I said my little goodbyes to her and went back to the house. And, it just started it was just too hot in the house. And my daughter slept in a room. She said she didn't feel comfortable in the room. She said, "Mom, feels like somebody's in the room looking at me." Shiloh said, this is her room. This is Saya's room. And by that time, it was nighttime, and the kids, all 3 of them, jumped into bed with me, of course. And they were all scared. The next day, the property people came over to fix the AC. He told me to come out in the back because it was in California in May time. It was hot. But in the back on the AC unit, it was frozen. He says he's never seen nothing like that ever before. And it was a trip because it was hot out there and it was like ice around it. So, I thought that was weird too, but he fixed it. An hour later, it was broken again. So he told me before he left, if it does it again, we'll put a whole new unit in tomorrow. And it happened again. So they scheduled to come back out. My cousin, he had this fan in his room, this older, nice fan, and I asked him if I could use it for me and the kids, and he says, of course, because he had the windows open. And that night, around 4 in the morning, I heard I got up. The kids were asleep, by the way. I was actually up because I couldn't sleep. And the nails to the fan were on the floor. The panels were melted back on the fan. And I was tripping out by then. And I was like, oh Lord, something is wrong. And then I'm just holding my kids and I'm shaking. And then I feel fingers like rubbing my cheek of a little hand. And that was hard. I'm still praying. It took me forever to go to sleep. I wanted to get up and run somewhere, but we had nowhere to go because we had no family there. But let's see. So that next morning, my daughter wakes up and said, Mom, it felt like somebody was rubbing my cheek. When I had a dream, somebody was rubbing my cheek. And I said, well, it probably was, because they were rubbing mine. And she was like, I'm so scared of this house, Mom. The next few hours, the maintenance guy came to fix the unit. They went up into the attic. Once they opened up the attic, it was like all hell broke loose. We heard a little girl's mumbling sound for about 5 minutes. La 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 la. For about 5 minutes straight, like she was set free. And my daughter was like, Mom, do you hear that? And I said, yeah, I hear it. I'm scared at that point, but trying to be strong. My son took off running, get me out this house, because we all heard it. By that time, it was like you could just randomly hear the little girl. For some reason, my son Shiloh, my 6-year-old son, he could see her. Not only hear her, but see her. And he's like, Mom, there she is right there, and I'm freaking out. So and my cousin couldn't hear anything, but before that, we all had got sick for about 5 minutes. Cousin said he felt like he was going to have a heart attack. My daughter felt like she was going to throw up. My stomach was hurting really bad. My son, Kayvon, he was acting retarded, and Shiloh had a really bad headache for about 5 minutes. And I thought that was odd, and I was like, okay. I called my mom, and she was like, okay, let's come on back home until we figure this out. So I told the kids, just pack up your hygiene stuff. We'll get all that stuff together. Come back to Arizona until I can figure it out. I went to my neighbor's house, and I told her just to watch the house because something's in that house. That was really weird. So, prior to us leaving, we were in the garage because, we couldn't go in and out the front door anymore because the key wouldn't work. It was like something was trying to hold us in. So we went in the garage, and it was like she followed us in there because Shiloh was like, Mom, there she is right there. And I said, my daughter was like, because I'm like tripping out right now, but my daughter said, ask her if she dead because we can only hear her sometimes. Shiloh can hear her at all times and see her. And he didn't answer because she was answering, and Shiloh says, no, she's not dead. She's just waiting for her family to get here. We'll be back for the big stuff later. And I was like, oh, hell no. So we had to get up out of there. We left back to Arizona, and I met this older lady, Pearl, across the street. She gave me the people's number who used to live there right when we left. So the next day I got to my mom's, I called him, and a guy picked up the phone, and I asked for his wife. I said, is Anna available? And he says, who's this? And I said, this is such and such. I live at 3955 Beacon Lane. And I said, did you have a little girl? Because he paused. And he says, you know what? I'll call you back. And he hung up. Never called me back. Never answered my calls or texts no more. And I thought that was weird. So I figured out, I talked to the realtor. I was able to go back to get my stuff out the house. So I grabbed some of my cousins and a friend and went back to California to get my stuff out the house. And the neighbors came across the street, this young guy with his daughter. She must have been like 10 or 11. He says, moving so soon? I said, yes, this house is haunted. Like haunted bad. And he was like, I knew it was something weird about that house, because I'd be vacant. I'd come home late at night and the lights would turn on and off in that house. His daughter looked at me and said, there's a little girl in there, isn't it? And this is a 2-story house. She says, I always see her up in that top window over there. Well, I was tripping out because somebody else confirmed it, and it wasn't just us. We wasn't going crazy after all. And she says she's always in that top window where there wasn't stairs or anything by that window. And I just thought that was really weird. But at that time we was getting our stuff out, and I just told him, sorry, it's only been about 2 weeks, but I can't do this. And can't put my kids through this, and I can't do this to myself. So we ended up getting our stuff out and moving back home. And it was just all kind of weird things happened in that house. Like her voice, like she was trying to get answers, and you know, and it was just really weird, and I couldn't figure it out. I looked it up, and I even have a picture that I pulled up. Right now, actually, the house is not even for sale or for rent. I wonder why. So I was trying to get answers, and I couldn't. So I actually wrote the Steve Harvey show, and I was on his show. It's been about maybe a year and a half or something like that. But Steve didn't believe me. Steve thought I was lying. He thought he was making jokes on the commercials, and that really hurt my feelings, Steve, because there was kids involved in this. And I'm a woman, I'm a black woman, and we wouldn't put up with no mess like that, Steve. And so I thought that was really shameful of you to say something like that to me on air. You told me maybe she thought you was a slave or something, and I know you're a comedian, you crack jokes, but again, there were kids involved, and this wasn't a laughing matter. But I got over that, and I still dig you, Steve. It's still cool. But this is a true story. It tortured us. It hurted. It tortured us. It hurt us, and we're still kind of dealing with the pain. We've gotten past it, but I forgot to say it on our way out. My mom told me to go up there and plead the blood of Jesus and start praying. So I did go upstairs and start praying, and left my cousin and kids downstairs. And they told me as I was praying they could hear stomping up there. Well, it wasn't me stomping, so wonder who it was. But it seemed like the little girl wasn't a mean girl. She seemed like she was friendly, but again, my son said she was waiting on her family to get there. So I just wanted answers. After that, I was able to do a documentary that's airing in Canada right now about what happened to us in the house. It's on My Scary Nightmares, and that's airing in Canada. But they had a psychic contact me, and she left the recording, and she was telling me that the little girl didn't want me to leave. She kind of wheeled me into the home because I was a nice mother, and she just loved me and loved the kids. And so she just, she's just living in that house still, but she didn't want me to leave. And so another psychic guy, which I didn't know, contacted me, and he told me that she wanted a pool, she wanted a party. Well, actually, this is how this happened. He contacted me and he asked me what was the address of the house. I emailed him back and I said, it's in Palmdale, California. That's all I said. He emailed me back with a picture of the exact house and said, is this the house? He says, and it was the house. He says she wanted a pool, she wants a party, she wants a balloon. She didn't want you to leave. He said she's a nice girl, she just didn't want you to leave. And then he said, I contacted one of my friends, and he said, red tag on the door. She was murdered in the house at about maybe the year 2005. And that her family was involved in some type of a ritual or something like that. And I was tripping out. I was tripping out because I actually lived in something like this, and I've never ever in my life, and I come from a praying family, you know, and I've never in my life lived, you know, just kind of experienced anything like that. So I thought it was crazy, but so it comes to find out she was murdered in the house. I actually contacted the sheriff's office, but the sheriff told me that I don't live in the house anymore and I would have to sign a waiver, so there was nothing they can do. Also, before we did leave, there was a hill in the back. I'm kind of going back a little bit, and my son would go and, get stuck. I would tell him, don't go up that hill in the backyard, and he did twice. Got stuck in the same spot. The second time, he told me, she's in there, Mom, in there. And it's just crazy how things happen like that. And it seems like so the little girl is actually still in the house from what I was told. And she needs to be set free, but I'm not going back to set her free. I'm done. I already did my part. I pray that she finds peace and moves on, but I'm not going back in there. And I just wanted to share this story because some people didn't believe us. They said we were kind of crazy, but and that black people wouldn't go through nothing like that. Black people does experience stuff like that. We did. My children did. And I just want to let the world know that it did happen. And if there's any kind of way that I can find some good directors to put this into a movie so that others can experience what we went through as African American people in that house, it was something unbelievable. It was just unreal. It seemed unreal, but then again, it was real because it was happening to us. It was a really, really scary experience. So thank you. Subscribe to my channel. I'm new at this, but I'm just trying to get some help out there to let people know that it happened to us. And Steve, that's on Everything I Love. This happened to us. Believe me or not, I thank God that me and my kids did get out okay. And we're back in Arizona and I ain't left yet. But we're okay, and I thank God for everything. This experience was just unreal, and I wanted to share it with the world. So if you can please share it, pass it on, let others know that there is that movie Sixth Sense out there. It does make sense. So thank you, and God bless you all.